statistics so we can set up what we're going to talk about. So we're talking about making our community safe and decent. And so we're going to look at what crime looks like in Philadelphia with a focus on our community. So Philadelphia saw more than 400 homicides in 2023, and most victims look like you and I. The city peaked at 526 homicides in 2021, but fell to 269 in 2024, showing improvement, but still a serious concern. Overall shootings and killings have declined recently to their lowest levels in more than a decade. And so when we look at this, Black Philadelphians make up 38% of the city's population. Again, we make up 38% of this population in the city, yet they account for the majority of the homicide victims in recent years, especially in economically distressed areas. National research shows firearm death risk is more acute for young Black men than any other person. And so what's driving this concern? Common factors that research and scholars lead to this point, and we know what it is: poverty, housing instability, limited youth opportunity, gun access, and trust gaps between communities and institutions. We were just having a conversation off the mic about what's going on in our country. Do you know about 65% of eligible U.S. voters did not vote in the 2024 presidential election? And you know what that means? That's 90 million people that did not vote. That's roughly 34% that did not vote, and it comes to about 90 million people. And the Black voter turnout has declined from its peak from the Obama era, and it was about 5 points below from 2008 in 2024. The youth turnout slipped with only 47% of young people voting in 2024. So family, now that we've properly introduced this, we need to come together. We have a lot of work to do. We want our panelists, first of all, to introduce themselves, and then we will jump right into this category, all right? All right, let us start with you, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hugh Clark, and I'm honored to be here to be one of the panelists. I was asked by Brother Wazir, and I told him that it would be my pleasure to share some ideas and some thoughts about our community. As I will get into when we speak, we're a part of this community and very much interested in collaborating with the mosque and other community institutions to make this a better community. So again, my name is Hugh Clark. Thank you.
I'm Student Minister Rodney Muhammad, a helper to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. And since I met him, he has been talking about this very thing, the dysfunction in our community. We hope to expand it beyond just the young men in what has been called the hood. They took the neighbor off, and hopefully we can talk about a wider range of dysfunction that's going on. Right now, this government was taking from every tax dollar 64 cents out of it to buy guns, bombs, and everything. So they're not the only ones banging down in the hood. It looks like the whole globe is turning into a theater for conflict. And we would not do justice by our young brothers in the hood if we didn't talk about the greater hypocrisies that we're looking at every day.
Good afternoon. My name is Minister Quadri Harris. Glad to be here. Thank you to Minister Muhammad for the invite. We collaborated on an event sponsored by Pastor Cassius Rudolph a few months ago back at Temple University, where I am a fourth-year PhD student under the direction of Dr. Molefi Kite Asante, whose institute is right up the block there. I also have the privilege of serving as college minister at St. Luke United Methodist Church in Bryn Mawr, PA.
All right, let's give it up for our panelists and their introductions. And so let's start our conversation beyond history, making our communities a decent and safe place to live. We're going to open up with Minister Quadri Harris, who will give us a conversation to begin this greater conversation about our history up to slavery.
Check. No, this is not.
See, Calvin, it's not on.
Check.
Let's use that one, brother. Yeah.
And do you have the slide? Yes. Yes, please.
Maybe we should take it off the table. It's not gonna work.
So while Brother Calvin is pulling up my visual aids on the PowerPoint that I would love to share for you, I'll just say a little bit more about my research. What I do is I look at African American Christian churches and look at the ways in which we are showing up in those spaces that are continuations of the ways that we were living on the continent, which I'm going to speak significantly more about that history in just a few minutes, but then also looking at the ways in which we are showing up in those spaces that are drawing us away from the patterns of living of how we were showing up on the continent as well. Yeah, I'm sure it'll pop up over there. Just give us 1 minute. Here we go. So while we're talking about this topic of struggles within our communities and the social ills that are negatively impacting all of us, but particularly our young black men, I would wager that a big part of this comes about because we don't really know who we are. We don't know where we come from. And a lot of these delinquent subcultures that we end up embracing as our culture is not really of us. These are things that we've picked up along the way, like patterns of living, adapting to being in an environment that's not really natural to who we are. So again, what we want to promote with this particular talk, talking about our history, is an unbroken history from the time of, I have this date centered here, I hope y'all can see on the screen there, 4241 BCE to West Africa, an unbroken historical chain, all right? Some will call us foundational Americans, some say that we are simply minorities, and some say that Africa has nothing to do with us, and these debates exist because, again, our historical anchor has been removed. So what I'm going to attempt to do is try to ground us back in that year again. Let's move on to the next slide, brother. So let's say a little bit more about this date, 4241 BCE. This is not mythology. This is not symbolism. This is astronomy. And what we can say about this date for certainty is that our ancestors in the ancient Nile Valley, what they have called ancient Egypt in the West, we will call Kemet, were using an astrological calendar that was based on the rising of the star Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. Okay? Let's move on to slide 3. Yep. What they were able to do by being able to track the rising of this star and the flooding of the Nile River along with it was create a 365-day calendar that we are still using today. It allowed them to see how the movement of celestial bodies were dictating patterns of life here on Earth. And when much of the world, think about how long ago this is. This is 4,200 141 years before the birth of the man we call Jesus Christ. Most of the world had yet to crawl out of caves. This is our documented starting point about talking about African history. This is not about slavery. This is not about colonization or plantations. This is about spiritual science. Let's go on to the next slide, brother. Next one. Next one. We also know from the history that these Egyptians left behind that they were black Africans looking like those of us sitting in this room here today. Okay? They were not metaphorically black. This was not just a symbol. They looked like you and me, and they were culturally black. The land that they called it, Kemet, literally means the black land. We can't lose sight of that, because if we don't talk about it, they will try to erase and whitewash this history. And once we accept this as a scientific principle, African history stops being fragmented. It becomes continuous. Kemet is not just an isolated civilization, but it's the prototype and the starting point for which we can say how Africans were living before Arabs and Europeans started showing up. Okay, next slide, please. Based on this astronomy, they were able to build pyramids, build empires, and build up entire civilizations based off agricultural synchronization, them growing crops according to the rising of the sun, the sacred kingship that the Bible will go on to call the pharaonic dynasties. But what this history was really about was living according to the 42 principles of Ma'at, or the 42 declarations of innocence. Things that tell us things along the lines of, I gave food to the hungry. I gave a drink to those that were thirsty. I provided shelter to those that needed it. I honored my ancestors. I did not curse the name of God. These were the 42 principles that were carved into these pyramids that were being built. Ethics was being institutionalized in our people 4,000 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. Where our history starts to get a little bit complicated is when outsiders start to show up. Next slide, please, brother. Multiple invasions into the Nile Valley lead to destabilizations of our life. They start introducing foreign ways of living, particularly ways of worshiping that create division between men and women. The first invasion that's notable in these hieroglyphs is in 1650 by a people known as the Hyksos. And if we look into ancient African history, the Hyksos history strangely models what we see about the early history of the Hebraic people and the story of Moses. About 1,000 years after this, we see Kemet being invaded by the Assyrians. 100 or so years after that, we see them invaded by the Persians. Then the Macedonians, also known as a branch of Greeks. The Romans come along in about 30 BC, and then those last invaders are still there, currently occupying Egypt, being Arabs coming in. And again, these are invasions. This is disruptions of African history. Outsiders coming in and telling us how to live according to their culture and to their principles has been a constant destabilizing element in our history. And this is important to talk about during Black History Month, especially in this country, because it gives us a framework that this type of colonization is not new. We've been dealing with it and having to push back against it, going back at least to 1650 BCE. Okay, next slide, please. And still, no, that's perfect. And still, what we need to understand is that in spite of all of these invasions and conquering, our history continues and it persists. That was not the end of African history. What we typically see happen is that during these invasions, we see the culture and history coming out of the Nile Valley being spread throughout the rest of the continent. From Northeast Africa, southward and westward, across the entire continent. This cultural diffusion created the conditions that we know to be modern West Africa, leading right up until the transatlantic slave trade. Next slide, please. We know these things based on archaeology, chronology, and oral tradition. What do we mean by the archaeology? The bones left in the ground tells us that most of the people in West Africa in Paleolithic times, so we're talking anywhere from 8,000 BCE to 10,000 BCE, were mostly short-statured Africans. People that were typically called the Pygmy people or the Twa people in European anthropology. Modern West Africans are a result of taller stature Africans migrating from the north and east, from the Nile Valley, throughout the rest of the continent, and creating the modern conditions that we are familiar with. And again, we see these type of documented migrations oftentimes coinciding with the various invasions documented in the archives in Kemet, and in the oral traditions and histories. If you go and you check the oral traditions of West African ethnic groups still on the continent today, so we're talking about the Asante people, the Akan, the Yoruba, the Igbos, definitely the Wolof people of Shekanta Giok, right? If you dig deep enough into the origins of where their people come from, their original cultural mythologies or oral histories are going to tell you that they came from the east. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Oh, so go. I think I jumped the gun a little bit, started talking about this slide. Yeah, so these are the particular West African ethnic groups that we can talk about today that still point us and tell us that their origins are in the ancient Nile Valley, particularly with the Dogon tribe in Mali, that were able to track that star Sirius with sophisticated astronomy that Western sciences tell us should not exist in these quote-unquote primitive African people. But again, we have an uninterrupted social history from the Dogon people telling us that they were exercising that same level of astronomy that we saw being used in ancient Kemet to track the rising of the star Sirius back in 21 BCE. Okay, this all collides and leads to the building of those pharaonic dynasties that left those pyramids that are still standing. Okay, next slide, please. This is not the way that we are typically being taught our history in K through 12 education in this country. The way we are typically taught, and Dr. Asante has published literally 100 books on these type of topics. The way we are typically being taught our history is that what was going on the continent prior to Europeans and Arabs showing up is irrelevant to world history. There's not much to study there, and that's anything but the case. Okay? What we understand is that since 42, that's a typo right there, it should be 21 BCE. We know that Africans were in the Nile Valley exercising astronomy that Europeans still cannot fully explain to this day. We know that that culture diffused from there throughout the rest of the continent to create the foundations of the culture that still exists in uncolonized African societies today. And that was the establishment of the West African ethnic groups that were standing before the Portuguese, Spanish, English, Germans, and everyone, the Dutch came and started colonizing us and bringing us over to the Americas on those slave ships. But what's important to note is, next slide please. If we don't allow slavery to dictate the terms, we have an unbroken history of Africa leading right up until that point. And see, I can say this here, but see, this sometimes gets me in trouble when I'm talking in some Christian spaces. It's like before our scriptures, because like that's what this point is telling us, right? Like we got documented history, 4,000 years before the birth of Christ, before anything in the Bible was written down. We can point to the fact that our ancestors were tracking heavenly bodies. And that's true for all African people, whether we are practicing Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. And it provides us with a foundation base to build on those relationships and not allow our religious differences to separate us. We have at least 6,000 years of documented shared history. That's enough to tap into and build into African cultural nationalism. That is based on ethics, that's based on gender reciprocity, based on pouring into our communities, and not buying into Western capitalist ideas. These are not fairy tales or mythology, that's documented history. And this is who our people have been. Not teaching this history, we see where it's leading us. And the last thing I'll say, because I think this is the last slide, right? Yeah, and the last thing I'll say, like the action step to this, the practical call is, again, not allowing our religious differences to prevent us from coalition building. Those of us that are practicing Christians, we often spend entirely too much time emphasizing shared histories and building shared ethical institutions with non-African Christians. Especially in a city like Philadelphia, where there is such an urgent need to provide intervention for our social ills. We have an opportunity to be coalition building with our African Muslim communities in a way that probably should be our priority and yield more fruit.
Let's give him a hand. Thank you so much. And what we've heard from Minister Quadri is a powerful presentation of our history coming from an African lens to the realities of slavery and Western colonized history that we don't get in our schools. And the tools we need is found right in what he said. I used to hear the old folks say is when you don't know your history, you're doomed and bound to repeat the same things that we saved ourselves from. So thank you so much for kind of laying the land and giving us this history from an African lens. Now we'll hear from Brother Hugh Clark, who will cover slavery up to Reconstruction.
Thank you so much. I have to stand to speak. I'm a retired attorney, and we weren't even allowed to speak unless we were standing, so that's the habit that I'm in. So hopefully it'll allow me to be a little more effective because that's what I'm used to. I'm here as a part of the community for Black History Month, and the part of the community that I represent here at this event is Lotus Academy, which I will be talking about a bit because it really segues right into some of the topics that Brother Wazir had asked me to speak on. Black History Month is very, very important, and it's even more important at Lotus Academy. Lotus Academy is an African-centered, private, independent school that has been around for 52 years, We started in 1974, and we've had the same philosophy since that time, that we think that it is our duty, our obligation, to have an institution that develops within our young people academic excellence, character development, and cultural affirmation. And we've had some parents who have been so influential in making Lotus Academy an authentic place where our young people can develop and be the best of what it means to be a black person. In fact, one of our former parents is Minister Rodney, whose two sons attended Lotus Academy some years ago. So, this is Black History Month, the last day. A lot of people are not aware that Black History Month is relatively new. It was started in 1932, or created in 1932, by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who was an absolutely brilliant man who understood that one of our biggest problems, we have a lot of problems in our community, one of our biggest problems is that we're subjected to an educational system that is not designed to make us the best of what it means to be a black person. It's designed, in most respects, to make us the worst of what it means to be a black person in our community. And so Carter G. Woodson wrote a book back in the 30s, which was just earth-shattering in terms of the insights that he brought in the book. And the book is called The Miseducation of the Negro. And one of the things that's fascinating with us at Lotus Academy and those people who are scholars, like Quadri and whatever, is that you read these books and it's like they were written yesterday. Because what he's saying, the same problems are there, and the same faulty solutions are there, and the same system is there that is destroying our people and our communities. And again, I'm not trying to say that there's nothing good about the education system. Obviously, there are islands of excellence, and there are aspects of it that are important. But for the most part, our education system has failed us as a community. And that's something that we have to be very mindful of. When Brother Wazir asked me to speak, he first asked me to speak about slavery, which is one of our least favorite topics at Lotus Academy and in my studies. I'm also a student of Dr. Malefi Asante, and he has been very instrumental in making sure that Lotus Academy stays on track and is true to its mission. And when we look at what is going on in our communities, it's very important to understand that the schools, the education system that we are a part of was not designed for us. It was never something that was supposed to strengthen the black community or the black psyche. That was not the purpose of it. So when Brother Wazir asked me to talk about slavery, the reason I say it was one of our least favorite topics is because, from our perspective, slavery was a detour and a disruption of black history, African American history, African history, whatever you want to call it. And there's a word in the language that we use in African history, African American history, called ma'afa. Ma'afa is a word that was coined by one of the great scholars of black history, Dr. Marimba Ani, and ma'afa means great disaster. And that's probably the best way to describe slavery. So when I say it's our least favorite topic, we don't really talk about it a lot. Not because we don't need to know about it, but we don't view it as a part of the flow of African history or African American history. In fact, we view it as a kind of a cancerous stage of our history. But it is important to know about it because, as we all know, the effects of slavery are still with us. What it did to our culture, what it did to our psyche, what it did to our society, our community of black people, is still raging on. And so after Brother Wazir asked me to talk about slavery, my least favorite topic, even though I've studied quite a bit about it, he later asked me, well, could you talk about education? And I said, well, yeah, that would be a blessing to talk about education. And the interesting thing is that there is a connection between those two topics, because we view education at Lotus Academy and many other people, Dr. Asante at the Department of Africology, we think that education is much more than just learning. Education in our community also has to be about healing, meaning that our schools and our institutions of learning have to accept the fact that many of our people are not healthy. I don't mean physically healthy. I mean mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. And so, in talking about education, I borrow a lot from the Nation of Islam. Because when we started Lotus Academy years ago, we studied some of the private, independent schools that were devoted to the betterment of black people. And one of the sterling examples of that was the University of Islam. Because when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad created, instituted, began the Nation of Islam, the first project was the education system. The University of Islam was started in 1934. The first teacher in the University of Islam, the school for children of the Nation of Islam, was Sister Clara Muhammad, his wife, the first teacher at University of Islam. And they realized that they needed a school that would do more than just teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. They needed a school that would teach our young people who they are. That's first and foremost. So at Lotus Academy, we say that education is about 3 I's. Some of us say I to the third power. You cannot have education, I don't care what kind of school it is, unless you start first and foremost with identity. You have to teach from the earliest possible age, and we started 3 years old. You have to teach knowledge of self, because you can't learn anything, and you certainly can't do anything with it if you don't know who you are. But at Lotus Academy, we also realize that as important as it is to teach knowledge of self, we have to teach love of self. Because one of the byproducts of slavery, which lasted from, they say that slavery started, you really can't put a date on it, but they claim that slavery started in the United States of America in 1619. There was a privateer, we call them pirates, who called himself the White Lion. And he brought 20 enslaved Africans to Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. And historically, they say that was the beginning of slavery, at least in the United States of America. And then, of course, it raged on from there. And one of the reasons that we don't like to talk about slavery in our school and our studies, because the adults also have school where we study to make sure we're up on what we're supposed to be up on, is because it's really about the horror of what the Europeans did to our people. But one of the things that we do teach when we talk about slavery is how the spirit of the African man and woman could not be destroyed. It could be damaged, it could be diluted, but it could not be destroyed. So slavery started historically in 1619. It raged on until, and again, these facts are just almost silly, but I'm just going to state them since this is Black History Month. I got to do a little history. Supposedly, slavery in the United States of America ended on January 1st, 1863, when President Abraham Lincoln declared the Emancipation Proclamation. So he wrote a nice little proclamation and said, all the slaves are free, as of January 1st, 1863. And you can imagine what the slave-holding states said when he said that, because the Civil War was still raging on at that time. They were like, you gotta be kidding. You think you're gonna write on a piece of paper, these slaves are free? What a joke. So of course the slavery raged on, the Civil War raged on, and finally, in the summer of 1865, the Confederacy, the southern states that were the slave states, they did surrender. And at that point, it looked like slavery was, as the brother said, quote, ended, unquote, because the Confederacy had fallen. And then, if you want to go into a little history, in 1867, 1868, and 1870, they passed the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Meaningless, but they passed it. And that basically ended slavery. The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution, meaningless, made the former slaves citizens of the United States of America. And the 15th Amendment in 1870, where they gave the former slaves the right to vote, which of course we know never happened, but that is in the Constitution. So if you want to talk about the history of slavery, that's kind of what the history is. As I said in the beginning, what we prefer to do is to talk about the strengths and the weaknesses that were brought out for African people during that horrific period that Dr. Amin called the Ma'afa. And the other thing that always keep in mind, we talk about slavery, and a lot of us think in terms of slavery in the southern states of the United States of America. When we teach social studies at Lotus Academy, we teach that slavery was really a worldwide phenomenon, at least the Western Hemisphere, because there was slavery in every part of Central America, the Caribbean, South America. In fact, the biggest slave trade and trafficking took place in places like Brazil, Cuba, massive. And so slavery was not just an American phenomenon, meaning the United States of America. It was a problem in the entire Western Hemisphere. So if you want to talk about the history of slavery, you have to talk about the diaspora, which was the forced migration of our people, our African people, from their homeland to all parts of North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. And that's what we try to focus on when we talk about slavery in our studies at the Lotus Academy, whether it's adult studies or the children's studies. And we try to make our young people understand that our history did not begin with slavery. That slavery was, as I said before, a horrendous disruption of our history. And that's why when my children were young, and I'm old enough to remember, I never saw it. Remember when Roots came out? I wouldn't let them watch it. Well, we didn't have TV, so we weren't watching anything. But I wouldn't let them watch it. Because what they tried to do, for those old enough to remember, maybe those who are not old enough have seen it on one of the cable channels or whatever, they tried to glorify slavery like it was some normal kind of thing. And they tried to make it seem like it was just a little bump in the road for black people. It wasn't a bump in the road. It was a giant cavernous pothole that destroyed so much of what we were and what we could be. So my point in all of this is to talk about education that Brother Wazir asked me to do. Okay? And so we at Lotus Academy feel that it is our obligation to not only teach the reading, writing, and arithmetic, but we have some really, really good readers, and we have some really, really good mathematicians, and we have some good writers and whatever, and we're always going to strive to have the best of the best. But at the same time, we have an obligation to make sure, as I said in the beginning, that we teach identity. We want our young people to know who they are and love who they are. Because one of the horrific offshoots of slavery, and probably in my opinion and the opinion of those who I've studied with, one of the reasons for most of our horrific problems is the fact that during slavery, the European, and by the way, even our young students, third and fourth graders, are amazed by the fact that if you talk about slavery, let's just talk about the United States of America, or Brazil, or Cuba, it doesn't matter. 99.9% of the slaves were African. And 99.9% of the slave masters and the slave traffickers were European. That's a phenomenal thing. We were the slaves and they were the slave masters. And one of the ways that they were able to keep this together was they figured out very early on, if you want to make sure that these slaves don't rise up more often than they did, because they did occasionally, if you want to make sure that doesn't happen, we have to teach them to hate themselves and everyone who looks like them. So when we talk about all this community violence and whatever, we're talking about young people who hate themselves and people who look like them. And until we can get a handle on that, to teach our young people who they are kings and queens, princes and princesses. They are royalty. But they have to be taught that, because they have been taught that they are the throne. And as long as they think that, they will not love themselves. Oh, they'll love the European, but they won't love themselves. So that's our first job at Lotus Academy. We feel it's our first job at education is identity, knowledge of self, and love of self. Our second job at Lotus Academy is ideals. That's that second I. And what we mean by that is we do not want a school where the children are smart and are learning and whatever only. We want a school where the children are taught and helped and guided in how to behave, how to conduct themselves, how to present themselves, because that's the black spirit, that's the black psyche. Now, I know I'm probably one of the older people in this room, but I remember well when back in the day, we may not have had very much, but you as a parent were judged by the conduct of your child. Not whether they had $400 sneaks on. That didn't count for any, not that anybody had them, but it did. If they did, it didn't count for anything. So what I'm saying is that when we talk about character development at Lotus Academy, we are very serious. We are very serious. It is our obligation at the earliest possible age to teach our young people how to conduct themselves. Black girls you see so much of that, you almost become indifferent to it. Because unfortunately, there are so many segments of our community where the children have no concept of conduct, no concept of respect, no concept of good behavior. So all I'm saying is, rather than curse the children because they didn't make themselves like that, they really didn't. We feel it is our obligation, and we have the opportunity because we have a school, to start them at an early age to value conducting yourself in a way where you have self-respect and then finally, of course, we have to make sure that we teach our young people all that they need to know in order to be productive citizens. So we don't just talk about knowledge of self or conduct all the time. We also talk about a lot of mathematics, a lot of social studies, a lot of science, a lot of reading, a lot of writing, because we want our young people to be as prepared as possible to go out in this world and succeed, to be someone that they can be proud of, to be someone that they can make other people proud of and inspire other people. So my point in all of this is I think that Black History Month is so important because it gives us an opportunity not to talk about all the problems in our community, which we do need to talk about, but also to talk about the people and the institutions that are making a difference to make it better. Because we have an obligation to our young people. And some of them may be beyond redemption. I never would say that. But we certainly have enough of those who are still developing and whatever that we need to join together the institutions in our community and see what we can do to offset the horrible effects of slavery, which I was supposed to talk about, but I clearly didn't, and build a new world where we do not have to hate ourselves, where we don't have to love our enemy, where we don't have to emulate behavior and conduct that is really uncivilized. Because as Brother Quadri said, we are the original people. We are the ones who set the standard before we were invaded and dominated by our enemy. So I say to you that, again, it is my pleasure to speak to you at Black History Month. And I look forward to more alliances with the people who are here who represent different aspects of the community, especially the Nation of Islam, Muhammad Mosque number 12. And hopefully we can roll up our sleeves and join hands and do even more than what we're doing now to make our community the best place that it can possibly be and make our young people the best of what it means to be an African. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for laying the foundation. Education is more than just learning. It's about healing. And as Black folks, we know that you are more than what they say we are, because we know who we belong to. And we know that God has given us so many gifts, and that's why you got to walk boldly in your identity and know who you belong to and have some ideals. Knowledge of self and love yourself. I was a student of James Cone in Columbia University. He's the father of Black liberation theology. And one thing he always said, that if you don't love yourself, then you can just throw yourself away. But when you know who you are and know your foundation and love who God created you to be, a devil in hell can't handle you on this side. So let's give it up for Brother Clark again. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Minister Rodney Muhammad, who will give us a talk on Reconstruction to Present.
Yes, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we thank Almighty God for all of His prophets, bringing his unequaled truth. He is the source of that truth, and we thank him for all of his prophets from Abraham to Muhammad. And by the way, we were always taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that all the prophets came from the black nation.
Yes, sir.
That you have to understand that when they got to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, it absolutely turned upside down the religious teaching of white America.
Yeah.
And I say that from the documentary that they have out on the black church in the United States.
Yeah.
But of all of that, we thank Allah for intervening in our affairs now in these last days in the divine person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. We can't thank him enough for his wise choice in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I believe that we all can be in agreement that that man did not fail us.
All right. All right.
The most honorable Elijah Muhammad and his teacher have given me the man who I am eternally indebted to them for today, and that's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Oh, yes.
And so, with that said, I want to say before I say anything else, I really want to thank Brother Rodney, who works with our regional student secretary, Brother Lance, for this brain trial and having the thought and the vision to do something like this. We always want this to be a community room outreaching to our brothers and sisters. We are not trying to be exclusive. We're not trying to be isolated. We certainly don't want to be alienated, all right? God didn't come to divide us. We were already divided when he came. He came for the gathering of his people, we are taught. So, but I wanted to say that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, of the many things that he said and taught, he said, in all thy getting, and I put emphasis on the word all, get history. And he said, because history is most attractive and is best qualified to reward our research. If we know who we were, then we know who we are. If we know what we did, we should know something of the possibilities of what we can do now. And if you know who you are and you know what you did, then the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, then you should know what to expect of yourself. One of the softest, most quietest blows of white supremacy is to create for the Negro mind an atmosphere of low expectation. As long as you don't expect much from yourself in your churches, your mosques, your schools, and everything, all you're going to do is just do enough to get along. But what we are in is in a kind of warfare that demands everything from us. And that's why when God came, he gave everything. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, as you learn history, understand that the earth is a symbol of the nature of the original man. If you want to know something about your nature, study the earth. When Prophet Muhammad said God was one, a black man stepped forward to be with him named Bilal, a black Ethiopian. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan reminded us when he heard God was one, Prophet Muhammad wasn't introducing him to something, it was reaffirming to Bilal what he already knew. And that's what made him join up with Muhammad. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad clearly said in his lesson plan, earth is the home of Islam. And so the nature of God is you have a better picture of it with the earth. The earth is incredible because of the things that are on its surface are not nearly as precious as the things that are deeper in it. And so it is with our nature. The things we're looking at now, they're just on the surface. But when we go deeper into the nature of the original people, of all that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's wisdom from God has done for us up to this point, I'm still standing in the kindergarten of his wisdom. We have not even begun to deal with the new books that he told us were already written, and that there would have to be certain things taking place. But one of the things that I talked to Dr. Malefi Asante about, and we've always wrangled over spots in history, because he was, I love that man. He studies, and he uses what he studies to fight back everything that he feels is trying to keep our people illiterate. Not make them illiterate, but keep them there. But I reminded him that it was a Muslim that popularized the term black in America. Nobody taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we were the black man, the original man of the earth. You know, the reverse was, because in the 30s, no one wanted to be called black. And if somebody called you black, that was fighting terms. We were called colored. They had other derogatory, disparaging things to call us. But the term black came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We should be clear on that. And when black started being used, the white man started finding something else to divide us on. He came up with the word minority. So Black Journal became Tony Brown's Journal. You know, Black Star, they named it another kind of star out of Baltimore, but these shows that were showing us as black people, we were uniting under the umbrella of that term. And so one thing that Dr. Malefi Asante and I certainly agree on is our history is under attack. And I mean more than just taking down some panels down at the president's house. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, after popularizing the term black, said he would not rest until he took away Mr., Mrs., and Miss and replaced it with brother and sister. He said this is the proper way for us to approach each other. And I think we have to agree that brother and sister has, it has resonated in the black world. And even the handshakes that came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, by the time Barack Obama became president, you know, the regular handshake that the Caucasian had taught us, it came to hugging, and, you know, you pulled a man to you and hug. But see, all of that was from the mosque. And I remember Sister Ava saying, you know, he's like an FOI. He jumps out of the car after the limo pulls up and everything. So they're not going to get away from this. But the attack is to take Elijah Muhammad out of our history. And the white man can't do it. He's getting us to do it. The man who popularized the term black, and the man who started us calling each other brother and sister. The man who connected us back with Africa, because we didn't want nothing to do with Africa because the Caucasian had taught us, you know, that we were just jungle bunnies and swinging from trees over there. We didn't know anything about building great civilizations. And every person, even the Klan that used the word nigger, they never called those who built the pyramids as niggers. And that's why the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, if you want to kill the mind of racists and white supremacy, it can only take place through black excellence. And you can't get black excellence when you are working with low expectations. He produced giants in the United States of America. Malcolm X started out Malcolm Little with a mug shot at the police station. Then they took his picture after Elijah Muhammad was finished with him and put it on a U.S. postal stamp. That's the highest level of their government. Muhammad Ali, who was Cassius Clay, they didn't want to accept the name, but had to take it. And then this man was able to go to a world that never watched sports, but because he wore the name Muhammad Ali, the Muslim world opened their arms to him. Naim Akbar, great thinker and author today, who was Leroy X, but anyway, Luther, that's what I mean, Luther X. But this man is brilliant in the world of psychiatry, but he will never tell the world that he did that on his own. He reminds them of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. James Baldwin was influenced by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Amira Baraki, Alex Haley. And Ebony Magazine took out, with the assist of 19 historical experts, to talk about the 100 most important men in history. And they made sure they kept the name of Elijah Muhammad out of there, and they certainly don't have Minister Farrakhan's name in there. So the minister said, and now I'm obliged, we will hunt you down, and we will drive you from every stage, and we will make so much damn noise about you exalting the students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad without mentioning their teacher and their maker. And black America is doing themselves a disservice. And I'm saying that on the last day of what they gave us as a Black History Month, that when you deny yourself, your champions, don't go by whether you agreed with them or not, because every black person got up and tried to break out of this jail the best way they knew how. And so in the nation, we're not taught to write any of our brothers or sisters out of history, even if they disagreed with us. You know, and Manning Marable, great writer, wrote a big volume book on Malcolm X. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan said nothing. He took that book, and in his own privacy, he read the entire book. And when he closed it, these were his words. When Malcolm X was with his teacher, nobody in the Nation of Islam outworked him. And that's one of the ways he said he wanted us to remember Malcolm X. That when he was with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he worked harder than anybody in it. And so we thank Allah, if we can thank Allah that the Arabs at least kept the Quran pure and didn't corrupt it, then doggone it, we can thank Allah for Malcolm X, at least when he was with his teacher. You know, and we got to stop doing ourselves a disservice, you know, when it comes to history. We went from enslavement to Jim Crow. Of course, Thomas Daddy Rice doing his dance, I think it started in 1832, something like that, but it was pretty early. But his dances to mimic a crippled Negro, but he said that nigga could sure still dance. So this caricature of a person that really didn't exist, what was really being crippled was not a black man on the stage trying to dance. Black people were being crippled under a system that became known as Jim Crow, because when this black white man who painted his face black would jump in the air, the crowd would yell, Jim Crow. During Reconstruction, and keep in mind, Reconstruction wasn't for us. Reconstruction was to bring the South back into the Union and to reconstruct this country and help them rebuild. In fact, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the theater. The vice president of Abraham Lincoln made sure that no black man got 40 acres and a mule. In fact, the only land transfers were he gave the former slave masters their land back. And when the land banks were set up, we did not enjoy that. Black people saved their money in the Freedmen's Bank during Reconstruction. All of it was stolen from us. They said today, in today's dollars, the amount would be up to 4.2 billion plus of what they took from us. We built 100 towns. Every last one of them was burned down and looted. And you remember that the next time they call us thugs, and that when we're burning down the community, they say we're burning it down because we know damn well we don't own it. And they're sucking from us every day of our life. And so they burnt our towns down, and they took our belongings that we worked for. The people, black people that built these towns, didn't come from college. The black people that built these towns weren't scholars. These people had never seen a classroom, so most of the black people that built these towns were illiterate according to today's standards. Now we got all these college degrees, college credit hours. If you add up the intellectual property that we have from black people learning, it's in the trillions. And we ain't built a damn thing that we can be proud of. So we gotta know that at the base of whatever we learn, we got to learn who we are. And know what to expect of ourselves. We've had giants that have come up like Booker T. Washington. You can respect. I used to be a critic of his because of accommodationist politics, I felt, but I could not deny the greatness of him to take the students, chop down the trees, built their own campus, took the clay from the earth and baked the clay into bricks to build Tuskegee Institute. And even before the Nation of Islam had its pause in 1975, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was in talks with the administration of Tuskegee to purchase the whole campus, because it was more than reading, writing, and arithmetic. It was more than literature and everything, but we were learning how to take land and begin to build something for ourselves again. And these are the kind of schools that we're going to need. We can't use what everyone else uses. We have to deal with, when you're in the hospital and you go into different rooms, everybody's not taking the same medicine. And we got to stop trying to be like everybody. Ain't nobody suffered like you and suffered like me. So we got to deal with the medicine that will treat our situation. And when you got a doctor that's doing something to you that's working, you got to stop letting the Caucasian come in and tell you who's good for you and who is not good for you. Because what they did with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, this is day 28. He has not been mentioned anywhere in the country in Black History Month from events that black folks put on. And now they're doing the same thing with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Out of the civil rights era, because you got to remember, after Reconstruction, women couldn't vote, period. So the only people from the black household that could vote were the men. And with just the men voting, we put 664 people in office. We put 15 of them in Congress and that. And it disturbed white America, so you have to remember, most of white America was illiterate or semi-illiterate. The immigrants that came over were definitely illiterate. That's how the idea for public school came up. It didn't come up to help us. It came up to help the illiteracy of the whites that were brought over here. So in order to relate to white people in the newspapers, they drew the cartoon caricatures. And what they would do, they would draw pictures of a black man with his shoes off, with big toes, with his feet on the table, eating fried chicken and drinking whiskey while he's in the Capitol building up in Washington, D.C. This was to paint a picture in white folks' mind that all black folks are doing after you give them an opportunity to do something is act undignified, uncouth, and savage. And we, black folks, not only after our women were raped 310 years, without let up, because the slave code of Goodell's book, I think it's on page 305, we were brought here for three things: hard labor, breeding, which means either raping the women or getting black men and putting them up as studs to have make babies so the babies could grow up to be slaves. And the last thing we were brought over here for was our bodies to be used for experimentation to further medical science. Okay? So we've lived under this. These are the scars that we carry with us. And now, because we had such a horrible experience with the land, first enslavement, then the peonage system or sharecropping, where you never shared in the profits of the crop, they always found a way to make you think you owed them money after you were the one working the land. So the experience was so bitter, so distasteful in us. The children of those that experienced that, the only thing we wanted to do was get away from the South. And we started heading toward the cities of the North. And the Great Migration, which was 6 million plus, we began to flood the cities of the North. And you can see a lot of the history, because police brutality, joblessness, all of these things, even that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad experienced. Out of the civil rights era, because we had been wiped out of government, looked like we were starting all over again. We had to begin to fight for our rights more as civic and social organizations, because we weren't in the halls of government, not in any substantial way. And so you should understand this. So organizations like the NAACP that started in 1909 with 60 people, most of them were white, only 7 were black. Of those that were black was William Monroe Trotter, very outspoken black man from the state of Massachusetts. From Tennessee, then Chicago, the great Ida B. Wells, and W.E.B. Du Bois. And these, there were a few other blacks, but these were the ones with the loudest voices. James Weldon Johnson took over the NAACP for 10 years, and that's when it got a black face. It went from 9,000 members to over 109,000 members, but they were mostly black. So it looked like it was supposed to be a black organization, but the Jews were over it, Spingarn, and that. And so anyone that was doing anything revolutionary in the black community, like Marcus Garvey, he took the NAACP and weaponized it against Mr. Garvey. It was not the aim of the NAACP, because by 1960, Roy Wilkins wanted Elijah Muhammad condemned. He wanted the Nation of Islam condemned, but you have to get a vote from the whole national NAACP convening, and they turned him down. He was never able to get that resolution passed to condemn Elijah Muhammad, because the branches that were now up in these cities, they were in the same neighborhoods with the Nation of Islam. And they could see that the things that Mr. Wilkins was afraid of, he was only echoing and Paul parroting the fear of the white community of what Mr. Muhammad was building. I'm going fast, but I just want us to understand a few things. Emerging out of the civil rights movement was the Black Power movement. This is where James Cone comes in, because I have some of his books also, and by Black liberation theology began to emerge out of Harlem or Brooklyn and places like that. And even, I'm thinking of him, the Lion of Zion, Sullivan, Leon Sullivan. You have to remember, he was an associate pastor at Abyssinia under Adam Clayton Powell. And Adam Clayton Powell was definitely fighting. He was one of the few that were in Congress who successfully passed nearly 60 pieces of legislation to deal with much of the oppression that we were in. And where we are presently, is they've worked on us now. And COINTELPRO, we suffered a lot doing. We don't talk about COINTELPRO enough and how our immaturity with the black struggle, we weren't ready for the dirty tricks that Mr. Hoover and his gang set up for us. We just should admit that. And so COINTELPRO, by it knocking us down, flooding the community with drugs. We didn't go get the heroin. They made sure the heroin got to us. We didn't go get the guns. They made sure the guns got to us. There are a lot of things that we didn't go get, but they made sure those things got to us. And even still, we were producing record numbers of people going to college. When I went to college, I didn't end up with a student loan because they had the Pell Grants. And they threw them Pell Grants out like you dealing cards. Because you know what they're thinking? In their mind, the nigga, he ain't going to do nothing with it. He ain't going to go learn. Man, I took them Pell Grants and I got through school, got 1 degree and was headed to DePaul. When they saw people climbing and getting out of there, they began to take those. It started under Reagan. They began to take those Pell Grants out and that. When they saw that people were still able to hustle with heroin, I don't think we know how tough we are. I could go through the history of Shabazz, but Shabazz, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, who took his people into Africa, he said, I'm going to make my people a tough people like the earth. And the earth is tough. Have you ever seen the big forest fires burn everything? It's earth scorching. But you come back 5-6 years later and all that stuff is growing back like nothing ever happened. That's us. They hit us with whiskey, moonshine. They hit us with everything they could find. They even took all the crime from us, and we went inside of ourselves and came up with numbers. You don't need an inventory to do numbers. And they called it nigger pool. And I got the book at home, To Kill the Dutchman. And it's got books in there of how much Big Joe Eisen and others were making a day right there in Harlem with them nickels and everything coming in, because everybody was playing a number. And, you know, black women have dreams. They're in touch with the Creator. And they had dreams. And they would be saying, that's why you saw the Malcolm X movie, I saw it in a dream, 5, 5, 5. White women don't have dreams. They don't have that. But you know what they do? They sell you dream books. They sell you 4-leaf clovers and everything. So they got all that down, right down at the store. You can run down there and get it. And so where we are now, we've taken a big setback. And I'm not talking about the drugs. I'm talking about the culture. And how easy it is to kill each other now. And the things that are away where we're devoid of knowing what's respectful and what's disrespectful, and that. And so the things that the Honorable, another disastrous thing is that I can go to a produce mart and not see a black woman in there under 45. And I'm being generous for 45 because it might be 50. Because when you don't know how to cook, the last place you going is the produce mart. What you supposed to do with an onion? What are you supposed to do with a bell pepper? And this. So we're getting food highly processed. And this government just came out. And our dear Sister Tuera, she's been telling us every week about it, because I said, let's get that report. They have a whole guideline. They said that we got to stop eating all these highly processed foods. You wouldn't be eating that if you. We were eating neck bones and beans and collard greens or turnip greens or different things, but we at least had people cooking in the 50s, the 60s, going into the 70s. But now we're in an era, and some people too damn lazy. They're waiting on Uber Eats. And then you talking about, where'd your money go? You ain't on drugs. All you got to do is pay rent and a car note. Why are you running out of money? They had Uber Eats every day, eating 2-3 times a day because we're too lazy to cook, because we don't. You're not going to be inclined to do something that you don't know how to do. There's a disconnect now in our generations that we got to fight to get back. And so it has to be old men for counsel and young men for war. And where you got young men who say can't nobody tell them nothing, they don't want to hear the counsel, then I guarantee you, you're going to lose the war. Thank you.
Let's give it up for all of our panelists. A lot has been said, and all thy getting, get history. And we know that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and all that dwell therein. And so we've heard from our panelists, giving us the history, giving us the foundation of our people. We're a mighty people, y'all. My first question for us before we bring up our next group of panelists is this. We've been talking about identity. Somebody say identity. So my first question for our panelists is this. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? What does our history mean for us? And how can we build better communities knowing where we come from? Let's start with Brother Hugh.
I would just sort of reiterate what I was saying earlier, not to ignore my generation, the generation below me, or the one below that. I just think we have to start with our young people. And I think we need more programs, we need more institutions, we need more contacts with those whose ideas are still in the development stage. And we don't have long, because with all the influences that they have with the social media and whatever, they're forming their opinions and their beliefs very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And very, very strongly. So I would say we have to work with everyone, ourselves included. We have an expression at Lotus Academy and our own study groups and whatever, that we all have to be lifelong learners.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we can ever say that we have arrived and makes any sense. So again, to answer your question, as much as we can do with our young minds, our developing minds, in my opinion, that's where we will get the most bang for our buck.
All right. Thank you.
Well, mine is short. We determined here at Mosque number 12 under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that the study of God is the blueprint for our development.
Yeah.
Studying him will be the blueprint for our development. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that it is only self-improvement that serves as the basis for community development. Mm-hmm. If we want to try another way, be my guest, but I think I've seen so many approaches. And with God, you're at the root of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime somebody see two girls fighting or two young boys fighting and you break it up, then after you get them apart, the first thing somebody asks, how did this start? So when you're talking about working with root knowledge, that you're getting an answer to how did all this start? And then you can bring it up to date. And as Malcolm X used to say when he was with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the deeper the root goes, that means you're able to get a deeper reach far back in your history. And our history goes beyond this 6,000-year period.
Right.
Leakey, one of their archaeologists or whatever, he found the bones of a black man that was minimally 2 million years old. And the first thing the minister said when he found the bones 2 million years old, said, well, whoever he was, he had a mother and a father. So that's how far back we go. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad took us much further back than this 6,000-year period. And as long as we keep ourselves in the cage that our enemies have made for us, they'll always win the argument.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, John Henry Clark and others, they went much further back than this 6,000-year period. And don't forget our dear brother Sheikh Anta Diop, who studied at the Sorbonne, and they rejected his paper about the origin of man. And he went back and got more information and doubled down on it and brought it back to them, and they ultimately had to accept it and give him his doctorate out of France. So these books all walk in compatibility and in harmony with what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us. But the messenger had to teach it in a way that the least informed among us could understand, so that he could come to this great truth.
All right.
Yeah, just real briefly to add on to what Brother Muhammad just stated for us. It's in traditional African culture, there's no such thing as atheism. God is at the center of everything that we do and who we are as a people. And that 6,000-year period, yes, our history goes back further than that. Sheikh Anta Diop points us to that particular date because that's the one we can say with certainty that our ancestors were using the tracking of the heavens to tell us who they are and who God created them and told them to be. Again, I reiterate, just to reiterate the point about where do we go from here. Programs like this, we should not take lightly. And what I'm specifically talking about is Black Christian communities building coalitions with Black Muslim communities. We don't do enough of this.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And again, what I stated before is expressing myself as a Christian minister. We are oftentimes spending our time, energy, and money coalition building with non-Black and non-African Christians.
Right.
One of the things that we can do to immediately start rebuilding our communities is shift that time and shift that focus into what we're doing here right now.
Right. Thank you. So I have a two-part question, and it goes with what we've been talking about. And I thought about this when Minister Muhammad was speaking. You talked about self-improvement.
Yes, sir.
So this two-part question is for the panel, and you can begin, Minister Muhammad. Self-improvement, where does it begin? And then the second part of this is that slavery as we know it went beyond the plantation. One would say that slavery of the mind was very much worse. How do we transform our mind?
The first part, I think you were asking me about the self-improvement. It is the basis. If we can't improve, when we say, well, we need our communities to be better, it will never become better if we're not better.
Right.
But we needed to be safe. If we're not safe to be around, then the community's not safe. So we all have to play a role there. There has to be participation from us. But the way the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan started us on it, he said, he used a biblical scripture, and keep in mind that from 1934 to about 1960, the Nation of Islam did not have Qurans for its members.
Right.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was building the Muslim community with his perfect knowledge of the Bible. And so we read both books.
Oh, yeah.
Our walk is different from those in the Muslim world.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
And so we didn't start with a Quran. Many of us started with a Bible.
Yeah.
We didn't start in a mosque. We started in a church.
Yeah.
Some of us.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't start with the name Muhammad on our lips. It was Jesus.
Yeah.
Was on our lips. And so, we see God's plan. He's using a people that has walked in both lanes.
Yeah.
To bring two worlds that we can see don't know how to come together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We have now a community that has experienced both. So it's magnificent to see, what the potential is.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think that if I get to the other part, you're just asking how is it done.
Yeah. Yeah. What's some practical steps to
Well,
transform the
Now
mind?
you know what? I can take care of that right away. You need to get the self-improvement study course.
Yeah.
It might be on the table back there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the better way. to
No,
say
that's
it,
good.
Because there's steps, and somebody will say, well, black people are not a monolith. We don't have a one-size-fits-all. No, but when you size us up, we all got the same enemy.
Yeah.
And it destroyed us in God knows thousands of ways. But we all must come back to the reality.
Right.
And I had the honor of sitting with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan twice while we were just there in Detroit. But on Monday, maybe 2.5 hours.
Wow.
He had somebody, he said, look up the word principle. And they read the word principle, and the last part of the definition was independent of religion. See, when you're talking about practicing principles, there's not a Christian principle, a Muslim principle, a Jewish principle.
Right.
The principles of God are the principles of God, because Adam didn't have a mosque or a church.
Right.
He didn't have a Quran or a Bible, but he knew God. Does that make sense?
No, it makes
Well, what's he
perfect
standing
sense.
on? He's
Yeah.
standing on principles.
Yeah.
These books are supposed to help us get back to what we
Oh yeah. Back to the basics. Yeah.
original man of the earth. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. I may preach that tomorrow. Yes, sir.
Just add to that real quick, because I love your two questions, brother, and I think they go hand in hand with each other. A practical step of self-improvement, and I'll talk specifically from the lens of black men. Us realizing that we are more similar to our sisters than we are to other non-black men.
That's good.
Right? Living according to that.
Yeah.
And according to those principles, understanding that we are two equal halves of the same divine reality, as opposed to being at odds and in opposition with each other. And again, I think that comes right back to the mental enslavement of allowing colonizers to tell us how we have to interact with each other, which also does include, our sisters thinking that they're more like non-black women than they are like their brothers, right? So that shift in understanding of ourselves, that shift in knowledge of ourselves should lead to practical ways of how we are interacting with each other in our institutions, particularly with all these gender wars happening
Right.
between black women and black men right now.
So love hip hop, so I was out of order.
And brother.
Oh
Yeah.
Lord.
Okay. And then our final question for this panelist. Our culture, as Minister Muhammad said, has taken a big setback, and we know that when it comes to culture. How can we reclaim our culture? How can we reclaim our culture?
I'll say the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it grows out of knowledge. We believe that civilization is knowledge first, wisdom, right, understanding, and then culture.
Yeah.
So out of a knowledge, a body of knowledge that we're feeding from now, and the wisdom that we're being raised into. And the minister said, what the step you must take to apply what you know, because you got knowledge and you sitting around doing nothing, then it's just some information sitting up there.
Yeah.
But you need understanding to apply. But out of that comes culture, and then once your culture comes out of that law, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, now refinement is necessary. And I thank Allah for our women's class, because it helps civilize. I'm gonna tell the sisters to get more visible. Stop these brothers from eating out of boxes. Don't let a man walk down the street eating and everything, especially if it's your man. No, you sit down at a table, put
Yeah.
some silverware down there, and make
Oh,
it
yeah.
like a king. All right?
All right.
Yeah, without fundamentally, just to add to that, this gets back to knowing who we are as a people, understanding who we've been and what colonizers are trying to take away from us. African culture, when it's uncolonized, is fundamentally based on gender equity and reciprocity. There are roles and function for men, there are roles and function for women, and if we are following and living into those things, our communities can and will thrive. They were thriving for thousands of years before Europeans and Arabs showed up and started telling us how to live. Us getting in contact and intimately understanding those values on a spiritual level can help transform our consciousness and lead to that cultural nationalism and nation building within a nation, that we've seen be so successful in movements like the Nation of Islam, going back for decades now.
All right. All right, let's give it up for our panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now don't leave us, y'all. We got one more panel rather. And we're going to hear from them as we continue this conversation on making our community a decent and safe place. Brother X, Brother James, and Brother Muhammad, please come forward. Let's give it up for them as they come. Thank you so much. So again, family, we're going to continue our conversation, and by this time you have a lot of history, you have a lot of awareness of what our first panel has talked about, giving you a little foundation of our history, of where we've come from. And we didn't just gather to talk, but we came to actually wrestle with where we should go from here. Because if we are honest, our communities don't need more conversations that end with applause. We need more conversation that actually lead to action. And so we know the history of Philadelphia, we know the history of the nation and the black church and our people. And it's rich in history and heavy with potential, but many of our neighbors in our communities are still asking real questions about safety, stability, opportunity, and hope. So we're going to hear from our second part of this panel, and we'll allow our brothers to introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into the conversation. We can start with Brother X from Brotherhood Incorporated. Let's clap it up, brothers.
Assalamualaikum. Peace be upon you. My name is Brother Jabril Yusuf X, and I'm the founder of Brotherhood Day Incorporated.
Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon to y'all. My name is Stanley James III. I am a spokesman as well as in charge of community outreach when it comes to Philly troops. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Happy Savior's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Ramadan Mubarak. Rahim. I'm Brother John Muhammad, founder of the youth organization GANG. It stands for Going After the Next Generation. We've been working for the last 20 years in the Delaware Valley, New Jersey, New York, dealing with the so-called hood, the hardened criminals, the gangbangers. We're honored to be here and share with you some wisdom that we can share with each other to make our community a safe and decent place to live. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So kind of piggybacking off of our first panel, I want to start with you, brother, because you mentioned going after the next generation. And we know that this generation has so much potential. I think it was Brother Muhammad that talked about how back in the day they didn't have as much as we have today. I mean, we have phones, we have internet, social media. So when we talk about this next generation, some of them feel devoid of their elders. we have some knuckleheads, as we know, and those think they know it all. But brother, how can we really get to the next generation? What ways in which that you do in your organization really get them, sit them down and let them know the history and let them know that they are somebody?
Thank you, my dear brother. I forgot to add, I'm a new author, family.
All right. Yes, sir.
And it's based on it's called Do You See Me Now? The Cry of Black Youth in the 21st Century.
Wow.
It's based on the African proverb, when a child does not get the love of the village, he will burn it down to feel its warmth.
Wow.
Our young people are crashing out. And they're crashing out, and my cover is me as a young, it's not a picture of me, but it's me.
Wow.
It's a young brother crashing out and a dad with his back turned because he was too busy. I love my father, but my father was not there for me growing up. And so our young brothers today are in such an emotional turmoil that I felt a need to put in writing some of the experience that I've had as a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, working for you for 20 years. And I came up with the acronym GANG, going after the next generation, because when the Bloods and Crips hit Jersey in the 2000s, they hit us hard. In every city. And I just had to figure out a way to reach them. So to answer your question, my brother, I have a chapter called Youth versus the Elders. And I wrote in there an incident that happened. I was on the corner with the Final Call one day, and an OG, well known in the community, he came by and his face was knotted up. Patrick, I'm looking, OG, what's good? What happened? Brother John, the young boys around the corner at the deli jumped me. We called it the deli. And I said, they jumped you? Why would they jump you? Listen to his answer. I don't know. I walk past them every day when I go to the store. I don't say nothing to them. I said, oh, gee, that's why you got jumped. Our young people want to be seen and respected. You are the adult.
Right.
If you were to walk to the corner store and say, how you doing, little brother? What's your name? Who's your mother? Who's your father?
Right.
Now you are identifying with them. Now when you walk past, oh, that's Mr. Jones right there.
Right.
But every time you walk past our young people and don't speak to them, you deny their humanity. And when you deny the humanity of our young people, we're going to pay a price. So today the elders are scared of the youth.
Right.
And the youth don't respect the elders because they know you know better. You're the adult. But if you don't reach out to our young brothers and touch them, you're going to pay a price like my OG did. So there is a divide among the youth and the elders. We got to bridge that gap, those of us in the middle. I'm not an OG yet, but I'm not a youth. But we got to bridge that gap. And last thing, I'm in a classroom with young brothers, and I say what I always say, honor your mother and father, brothers, that your days may be long. This little brother said, man, F my mother in front of everybody. And he was dead serious. Now I'm looking like, oh, he didn't have no, please. He said, my mother chose drugs and men over me. My mother chose drugs. I want to eat. She in the room with this nigga. Just what a 12-year-old boy saying to me. So our youth are crying out, y'all. And a cry is an appeal.
Yeah.
It's a petition. They're crying out. And all the educational, or highfalutin ain't gonna reach our young brothers.
Yeah.
We need boots on the ground to save them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. This question is for Brother Jabril X. What are some takeaways of Brotherhood Incorporated that you can give us that'll help us build safer and better communities? Give us a description of your organization and how we can be a part and what ways we can build our community safer.
Well, Brotherhood Day is a nonprofit organization. We just try to create a consistent and safe, structured space where men and youth can build unity, strengthen their character, and grow through mentorship and positive engagement. But a lot of things that happen on Brotherhood Day is mainly about the atmosphere that we create. like Brother John was saying, a lot of times people just want to feel seen. I know for myself growing up, as a young person, you know, and as the youth, you just want to feel like you fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll do anything that you have to do to try to be cool, be that person that everyone likes. And learning how to be yourself is just what we try to teach them while we're there. Creating that positive atmosphere for them, actually talking to them, smiling, asking how everything is with their personal life, trying to guide them. All that is things that you really just need. A lot of times, like what Brother John was saying, you just got to go up to the young person and speak with them. So even with like the smallest of things, like the language, normally we say things like "What's up?" We say hello. We say good morning. And one of the things that we were talking about during Brotherhood Day 6, we were saying, or Brotherhood Day 5 that was, we were talking about just switching up the language.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times we say, what's up? They already know what's up. The sky is up. We say hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hell is low. There ain't nothing positive about that. And there's nothing good about mourning. When you're mourning, that's a sad thing. So we was just telling them to switch up their language when you see your brother say, peace be upon you.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the words that Jesus said. And the smallest things like that can really just spark someone's day. Like when we're leaving Brotherhood Day and we look at someone, they say, all right, peace be upon you, bro. When the next Brotherhood Day? That's stuff that really, I feel like, is a big impact. That's larger than anything physical. That's something spiritual. That's where it starts.
That's good. That's good. I definitely like what Brother X said, and it's just not for young people, but feeling seen, it means a lot. Especially for our black brothers, we feel like we can't cry, show emotion. But what we see in our communities, our brothers need to be affirmed, seen, self-pride, and language. Language changes up a lot of things, so thank you for that. And that same question is for you, Brother James. What are some takeaways of Philly Truths, and how and what is your organization doing in the community that we can all be a part of that can make our community safer and better?
Our mission is driving the impact of sustainable black manhood, founded in 2020 in response to a rise in gun violence. 2025 stats, the community-led visible deterred Philly Truths, Peace Patrol, we were able to walk 300 miles, 4,300 blocks, and we had about 13,000 community members. Also, past December 2025, Peace Patrol pilot on SUPTA, we was able to gather 32,000 engagements. Peace Patrol started as a volunteer model in 2021, and since 2024, we have paid justice impacted men to do patrols and cohorts. We provide personal development for our participants and assist them with workforce development when they leave us. We address community safety by placing men with lived experiences in streets to show them where they have value and how it can be applied as a community service. So basically for Philly Truths, one of the things that we're big on is definitely integrity and having dignity. One thing I love about Philly Truths, I've been everywhere in all types of rooms in the world, and as Brother Elijah would say, it's one of his big sayings, there's no bigger room than a room for improvement.
That's
so,
good.
With that being said, just day at a time, we try to do the best we can to be able to assist these young men, women, whoever's in the community to be able to have something to look forward to. We all know that we love results, right? There's anything without results. So with that being said, just day at a time, just out there, like y'all said, boots on ground. We're constantly patrolling, setting up canvases in Philly. And we're a nonprofit, so we're constantly on the grind every day.
Yeah, let's give it up. Thank you for that. And just a few things that you mentioned that kind of pop out to me. You talk about manhood, and we talk about our sisters' personhood, lived experience. And you know, as we say in the church and probably in the mosque, testimony means a lot. because you don't know how important your testimony might help somebody else out that's actually going through what you've been through. As we say, they see your story, but they don't see what you've been through to get where you've been. And so that's why it takes all of us to share with our brothers and sisters the testimonies, because one thing that we've learned, politicians lie, preachers lie, but lessons don't lie. And so when you share with your testimony and your experience, we can definitely get somewhere. My next question is for you, brother. How do we better engage our young people before the streets do? And I'm going to get your book because I know it's in there for you, brother. Yeah, for you, brother John. How do we better engage our young people before the streets do?
I would answer that by saying we should be a little better than the disciples. In the book of Matthew, chapter 19, verses 13 to 15, gives you a picture of how we do our young people. I can read it so I don't make a mistake. Then people brought little children to Jesus for him to place hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked them. Jesus said, suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. The disciples was chilling with Jesus, and family members brought the youth to Jesus so that he can touch and heal and pray for them, and the disciples was blocking them. Jesus don't care about no children. They don't pay charity.
Right.
They don't tithe. They ain't old enough to sell the paper. And Jesus said, no, suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not. So here you are, a disciple, and you blocking the youth.
Right.
And we got leaders today. You block the youth consciously and subconsciously. And our young people feel it, and that's why they don't care what you know until they know that you care. I'm with my brother here, Brother Hood. He's from the mighty Blood Nation. He's suited and booted right now. But we rocking with hard gang members, because if you don't love these brothers and sisters more than they hate themselves, you're going to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we go on the street, we go with love, and we don't fear them. But we reach this, how are you? How are you, son? What's your name, little brother? Where you from? How you do? He wants to be seen. He's a little God.
Yeah.
I started a chess program too a couple years ago. I can't play chess, but I started it.
Yeah.
To talk to the youth. It's a humble experience to get beat by a bunch of 7th graders every Wednesday. But it's all good.
Yeah.
I'm learning. But I'm teaching them. This chess is this queen right here. This is the black woman right here, brother. Most powerful piece on the board. See these pawns right here, little man? That's you on the corner right there. You a pawn selling for the big homie. Tell the big homie to get out of here.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, with all the movement, brother, it's all about that king. The king can only move one piece at a time. So you got to be careful how you move, little brother. You don't get in a car with a 13-year-old and he drives him or get in the car. You know he ain't got his license.
Right.
So we got to be creative and show love. And when you show love to young people, I'm telling you, some of the so-called ones I thought was the worst, man, please. They just wanted somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
So let's suffer the little children to come and forbid them not, y'all. Because there in them, Minister Farrakhan said, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, this generation, the most powerful generation we ever produced. So either they're going to fight for us or run over us.
Oh, yeah.
You be the judge.
That's good. No, you're good. Yeah, Brother John got my mind turning. I think about a quote that Dr. Cornel West used to say, you can't serve the people if you don't love the people. And if you don't love the people, you can't serve them. And so you have to show some love. And I think it was Minister Muhammad that said earlier about the teachings of the minister to change the way you greet one another. Instead of Mr. and Miss, but sister and brother. And that goes a long way. You just don't know how you change somebody's day when you greet them. You don't know what they've been through before you came into them. And we vibe, as black folks, we vibe off energy. energy. If you come with this reckless energy to young people or people that you think that might be less than you because you got a few degrees, and then that's when the village burns up. It takes a village to raise a child. You know, so we have to do better than what we've been doing. Thank you for that. Brother James, for Philly Truths, what does real community safety look like beyond policing? We see across the country what police is doing to our communities. And now they even lie to other people of color, and now ICE is taking over all of our communities. And we think it's just about, you know, the Mexicans and all the others. No, they're knocking on our doors as well. You got to walk around with your ID and passport, birth certificate. So what does real community safety look like in your
I would go back into what we were initially addressing as far as being boots on ground and being able to conversate and approach these young people. When it comes to Philly Truths, mainly we deal with people in their community. We work with people in their community to deal with people in the community. So they're basically having the same things. We big on team dynamics too. And to answer the question, I highlighted some topics, and most of them were basically on team dynamics. So when you're speaking on that, you're speaking on teams. It's, you know, it's more power in teams. So teams outperform individuals on complex, high impact work, physiology, psychology,
that's all right.
Physiological safety is the foundation of high performance. Trust and accountability must coexist. Clear roles reduce conflict and duplication. Diverse perspectives improve innovation. Equal participation increases collective intelligence. Conflict handled well strengthens teams. So usually when we out there, we big on having engagements, and to us, we like just talking to, you know, anybody and try to get it, but we usually try to make sure that an engagement is actually engagement, like what we're doing now, us actually talking and having a conversation. So mainly just boots on the ground out there, and when I say we're there every day, like every day of my life for the last couple of years, we've been representing Philly Truths, like as a you see us here.
Yeah.
So we try to be involved in mostly everything that goes on in the community. And like I said, we big on, you know, dignity and, you know, how we uphold ourselves. So, yeah. That's
Appreciate that. Two things he said that stand out to me is team and presence. You know, back in the day growing up, the black family always showed up for each other. And one thing I remember my grandma used to say, you can move a little bit with one person, but when you got a village and more than one person, you can move a mountain. And so from what he's saying, I really hear what Philly Truths is doing, being present, being a team player, being a team member and a community builder. Thank you for that. Brother X, this question is for you. Where is the breakdown of trust, you think, between institutions and our community? You have churches in our community. We have the mosque in our community. You have black organizations. You know, Philly had a lot of your bourgeoisie and your founding of a lot of organizations right here in Philadelphia. Where do you think the trust issues are when you come to people that's on the ground and your higher institutions?
Thank you. I think it starts with young people can feel if you're being real, if you're being genuine or not, and it starts with consistency. Like with the first Brotherhood Day, a lot of times big corporations, they come together. Everything might be extremely 100% perfect from the start, and that doesn't feel as genuine if it's like that, because you don't relate with the people. Being humble as well. The youth is not all just a whole bunch of like crazy people running around beating people up. It's a lot of people who are free thinkers. They have their own minds. They have creativity, and they just don't know where to like express these feelings. That they just keep it to themselves. There's a lot of young people who go there and they have so many talents, and you would never know because they just keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
And we talk about that. And I think that you just have to be real, you have to be consistent. Like, the oxymoron in Philadelphia is saying that we're the city of brotherly love. Nobody can relate to that. A lot of people can't relate to that.
Yeah.
So when the first Brotherhood Day started, that was like, you got to think like God. You got to think like years and years and years in advance. Sometimes they say that God, a day to God is 1,000 years to us.
Yeah.
In the nation, we say that we're little gods, so we like a lowercase g God. So every Brotherhood Day, we count that as a month. But the goal was to think about Brotherhood Day 12, the impact that we'll make when it's Day 12, because when it's Day 12, that'll symbolize a year.
Yeah.
But it, like, if we would have went about it like the first Brotherhood Day, we just expect that we would have got a lot of people to come to our mosque, a lot of people to say that, you know what, I'm not even smoking weed no more, I'm not doing this no more, I'm just, you know, I'm about to go to college, or I'm about to be a pastor. If that's extremely unrealistic. They gotta take time to feel if this is real or not, if this is genuine. But with each Brotherhood Day that has gone on, it feels so good to just see that we have the same people. Like, it'll be people from the first one who just happen to be in the area, and now they're coming to the fourth one, and they're asking about how the fifth one is going to go, and they're talking about, oh, it was so good on Day 3 when this happened, and that was deep what this person said. But it's just you have to be really genuine, you have to be really humble, you have to be really, it's a lot of ingredients that go into it. You can't just go about it thinking that these people are just hopeless, crazy young people.
Yeah.
They don't need me.
Oh yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, that's how you see me?
Right.
And then they'll do stuff that might use you if you bring food. All right, appreciate the food. Never come back again. But if you look at them, you recognize them, like what Brother John was saying, and what the nation teaches, we say that you're little gods, lowercase g gods, and you give them that respect, but you have to actually mean it. You can't go out there and just feel like, man, these people are so crazy, they need me, let me help them. You got to actually be able to humble yourself and see their potential. And then that's when they start to trust you, and especially when you be consistent. You know, if you can do it and just keep going and just be patient and not look at it like, oh, this is all going to happen in 1 month. If you tell yourself that if we keep going out here and we keep talking to these young people, by the time it's a year, hopefully they'll be in a better position. And they might not be 100% perfect by a year, but you got to at least be appreciative of the journey that they did make, the improvement that they made.
That's good. I like that. Definitely improvement and consistency. And it goes back to what the brothers have been saying all day, identity. Because when you know who you belong to and you know who you are, then you walk and talk differently. This is the old song in the church, God is not through with me yet, but when God get through with me, I'll come forth as per gold. So go back to that consistency and go back to that self-improvement. You can go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in with Brother X ended off on. And basically a question pertaining to Philly Truth was like, how do we deal with the people, but everything that's going on as long as with law enforcement. So me sitting here thinking it's pretty dope that things that I've seen and I came across, because Philly Truth gave us an environment to be able to actually, and like I said, it's crazy because we deal with a lot of jail-impacted people. So it came to a point in time where we actually would have the cops be the people that come with us when we did Operation Hub the Block. So it gave the kids as well as, the kids and men as well as the police different perspectives and outlooks dealing with each other, because you got jail-impacted people that's coming from the experience that they had with the cops. And now they got to work with the cops, and then you got the cops there with their different perspectives on how to deal with the people, and now they have to coexist with each other.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty dope. I love what Philly Truth has going on. And going back to what he said about consistency, we going into 5 years. So,
that's good. That's all right. That's good. That's good, bro. I appreciate that. And that's how you build trust. You know, getting outside the box, actually putting boots on the ground. We know that faith without works is dead. No matter what you talk about on this panel, no matter what we do on social, we got a lot of social media thugs on what we should be doing or what the mosque should be doing, but half of the folks that talk about it ain't even here doing the work. I know this just ain't at the church, it's in the mosque too. The folks that are the loudest, that they don't do the work. But consistency is key. Thank you for that. This question is for you, Brother John. How
what role, rather, must the faith community play in this moment? We know there's a lot of misinformation that's going on with this administration, the erasure of black history, our work. I mean, it's only been 60 years since we've been able to get only a taste of what we see. Y'all hear what I'm saying? You know, when you have an appetizer, you know, it's all right. Your entree is coming. We ain't even had an appetizer yet in this country. So how and what is the role that the faith community play right now at this moment?
That's an excellent question. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that our base of our problem is a spiritual one. A gang going after the next generation is a spiritually based organization, and we make that clear. That's why I'm not nonprofit. Not yet. We are spiritually based. We're going to say God, we're going to say Allah, and we're going to say Jesus.
All right.
And we have boys to men conferences, youth conferences every other month in Delaware. We deal with what to do when stopped by the police, role playing, male, female relationships, God-centered, hygiene.
Yeah.
Because many our young brothers don't even know how to wash.
Yeah.
Proper handling of people. Spiritually based. And I tell the parents, if you don't want your child to know about God, you can leave right now. Well, Brother John, y'all should be a nonprofit. No, I'm not going to be nonprofit. Because we're going to talk about God, because the problem is spiritual.
Yeah.
So gang is spiritual. And by the way, when you get your brakes fixed, when you go to the mechanic, do you ask your mechanic, is he nonprofit? He provides a service.
Right.
So don't worry about it. If you believe we're doing the right thing, then you help us. Don't worry about that nonprofit stuff. Give me that money to help my youth.
Right.
But churches and mosques like today, open your doors. Just open your door. All we need is that little community room over there. But again, some of them, they're scared to death.
Yeah.
Literally scared of our youth. But our spiritual community, that's where it's going to ultimately end up, because they got to come your way.
Yeah.
They're going to, after all that they go through, they're going to have to come through the church. Well, Brother John, I don't like organized religion. Okay, well, brother, the opposite of organized religion is unorganized. So what you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? You mean I will live next to a God-fearing Christian than a hypocrite Muslim any day? I'd take a God-fearing Jehovah's Witness over a hypocrite Christian any day. Because if you really live in the principles, then we don't even know what your religion is.
Right.
As you talked about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Principle.
But the houses of worship, we need them. We need that little community room.
Yeah.
Things go down for the troops need to come in.
Yeah.
We need that room, y'all.
No, that's true.
Don't be scared they're going to take your money.
Yeah.
Right. When the shots go, me and Brother Hood, we do conflict resolution. We got to come on. We open this church, man, so we can bring these brothers together. Don't be scared they're going to shoot the church up.
Right. Yeah.
Where's your, resist Satan, they say.
Yeah.
And he will flee from you, so it's very important.
Oh, yeah.
We ain't going nowhere without the church.
Yeah.
We ain't going nowhere without the mosque.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So either we're going to be forced to help or open your doors right now. One thing about a fireman, as I close, my brother, when they see that fire coming to the city, firemen don't wait until the fire comes up.
Right.
They go out and meet the fire.
Yeah.
And they put that retardant stuff down, all that stuff, to make sure it don't come over. We sitting around waiting for them to run up into the house.
Yeah.
Let's go meet them right where they are. And guess what? At the end of these workshops, brother, at gang, we don't see you to the mosque. Where you want to go?
Yeah.
Your mother's Christian, your mother's Jehovah's. Okay, come on. They don't care. They bring them to our workshops because they know we're going to give them God. And then we're going to send you back to where you think you should go. Raise a child in the way he should go. Not raise my child, Brother John, the way, whatever he want to do. No. You raise him up in the way he should go.
Right.
That means you dictate where he goes.
Yeah.
And then when he get older, he won't depart. But parents today, my brother, whatever he want to do, he can be. Yeah, that's why we had this problem right now. Because you be making him make decisions at 11 and he ain't mature enough. Right. Hey. So when our young brothers coming, we just spoke to 400 men yesterday.
Yeah.
Raising Kings. And I shared with them, brothers, we know that you don't know, but we just want you to grow.
Yeah.
We know that you don't know. And I put a picture of the Million Man March, Brother Minister Rodney. How many of y'all seen that? None of them seen it.
Yeah.
All of them in high school. So I looked at the teachers. How come they don't know about the Million Man March? And all the teachers dropped their head. None of them knew, because by design,
Right.
they keeping that from us. But we're going to fight. But that spiritual community, the pastors, the reverends, the imams, and that's like you said, the Facebook, all that, man, get off Facebook. Let's get in the streets, help out people.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. And that goes right into my next question. You tapped on it a lot about ensuring collaboration. Just like we're doing today, from different faiths, we all look the same, no matter what you believe in. We're all serving the same God that created the heavens and the earth. And collaboration is so important. You mentioned that. And so for my final question, what is some actionable steps that we commit that all of us can do? What are some things that you've done in your organization that we can do as individuals to make our community better? I'll start with you, Brother X, and then we'll come down.
I would say that the things that everyone can start doing, first off, I can talk about, can I talk about us, like the things that we're doing?
Oh, yeah, because they're good for us, too. Yep.
Okay. So, making people just, like I was talking to my grandfather last week, and one of the questions that he had asked me, he said, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, he said, and ask yourself, who is the me that I am? And when he asked me that, he told me to explain, like, if you had to look at yourself in the mirror and explain, who do you see? Who are you? I got, like, I paused. I didn't really know how to explain it. I didn't know where to start. I felt like, should I say a lot? Should I say a little? And then he stopped me and he told me that I don't have to explain to him. I have to explain that to myself. And I think that we all, as a whole, need to just ask yourself that question, because it's a really personal question. Everyone, when they leave, have to go in the mirror and look at yourself and say, who is the me that I am? Now, for 2025, that whole year, I felt like maybe if I had to describe who I am, I have to do that by actions and not just talking, which is good, but at the same time, you have to look at yourself, because some people, they go their whole lives and they might be 70 by the time they ask themselves that question, and they're able to explain that to themselves. But it's good to really just have that on your mind so you can start to work to make that change and you can start to become who you want to become. Because it's a thought before you start doing any action.
Right.
But I think that's what we're doing at Brotherhood Day. Or I know that's what we're doing at Brotherhood Day. Like, even with the name, if you look at the logo, you can see that it's two brothers shaking each other's hands. And brothers, that's any age. It's not just youth. This is not an organization that's focused on the youth. One of the things that always made me cringe a little bit is hearing older brothers say, like, oh, we had to do, man, it's y'all time.
Oh, yeah, we heard.
That just, to me, it just seems like a lazy way to, like, try to bow out.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's y'all time is over. If y'all older, you can still come to Brotherhood Day. We have brothers who old, they walk with a cane, but they just play a different role when they come.
That's right.
They might be the referee, they might just watch and laugh, and it's unity, because if it's just an organization with a whole bunch of young people, it's not gonna stay. There may be some advice that a brother can give me. And the beautiful thing about it, Brotherhood Day, the whole idea of it started from a Wednesday lecture with Minister Rodney. And I really want to find that lecture, but he was speaking, and I remember talking to a brother Josh, and I was saying, like, yo, we need to do like a day where we can bring people together, and then we can probably teach them after we're done, like, having fun. But if it wasn't for him having this lecture on Wednesday, Brotherhood Day wouldn't even have started. It wouldn't be a thing. But that's because he's playing his role. He doesn't have to come and put on some boss sneaks on. You know, he's still my brother. He might use Facebook. I use Instagram. But we all are brothers. And then you start to learn that we're all sisters. Y'all all sisters. Brothers, we're all brothers. Y'all just have a different position y'all gotta play.
Yeah.
If you see an NBA player, he may be playing, he gets old, he retires, but then he turns into a coach.
Yeah.
He turns like you're not out of the game.
That's
God
right.
let you know when you're out of the game.
That's
when you're
good.
out of the game, that's when somebody's putting you back into the earth.
Right.
You know, so
That's good.
And please don't bow out yet. You just have a different position. But with Brotherhood Day, the name Brotherhood, first off, I was surprised that this is the city of brotherly love. And when we came up with that name, nobody in the state of Pennsylvania thought of Brotherhood Day. That's one of the hardest parts, just coming up with a name for your organization.
Right.
Which is very sad. That's why I said it's an oxymoron. We say this is a city of brotherly love, but no one can relate to that. So we just wanted to make it make sense. So we're not just saying, Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love, and then you jump an old head or an older brother who's going to the corner store and minding his business.
Yeah.
But when you break down what a brother is, no matter what age he is, why is that person my brother?
Right.
What makes a brother? A brother, y'all have the same parents. You have the same dad. So even with us, like, a lot of people, you give God different names, and that's totally fine. But one of the things that makes everyone bond at Brotherhood Day is the fact that we can come together and really feel that you're a brother, because we know that even though he may have a whole bunch of different names, we all are trying to satisfy the originator of the heavens and earth. And that's what makes us brothers. It's not just a saying, it don't just sound cool. That's what it really is. My sister, she calls my dad Daddy. I don't call my dad Daddy. I call him Pop, I call him Dad, I say that's my father. But at the end of the day, we all have different relationships with our God. We all have different titles or different names for him. But at the end of the day, your father is the originator of the heavens and the earth, and that is what brings us all together and say this is brothers and this is Brotherhood Day. So what you can do is just go home, ask yourself, who are you? And start to work towards that. What are the little things that you can do to make your communities a safe and decent place? And it's funny that you asked that, because that's what we always tell them at Brotherhood Day. What can you do? And I told them it was about like 30 people at the last one. And I said, if we all in this room and everyone look at each other, do y'all think if you get a house, 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 everyone in here gets a house, do y'all think we're going to have a problem fighting each other or shooting each other? But it starts with one person. And that's what makes a safe and decent community. Start with yourself.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so Brother X touched on a lot of great things. I don't know, I think he was reading my mind a little bit, right? You know what I mean? But he had a lot of great pointers, and I love the name for Brotherhood, because right now, in coexistence with Philly Truce, we are still celebrating the year of brotherly action. That's something that we have going on. One of the main things is what we try to do is the organization aims to create lasting change by transforming the cost of neglect into an investment into hope. So I don't know about too many people, but myself, like, I listen to a lot of things that people say, but I always watch what people do. Right? So that goes back into what Brother John was saying about kids, and how impressionable they are, and how we lead them and stuff like that. It's super duper important, because sometimes we don't have to really say too much for them. They watch everything we do, right? Even if we're not saying too much of anything. So when it comes to Philly Truce, like I said, just in general, like, we out there every day, boots on ground is a non-stop thing, and you really have to be out there. You have to be impressionable. You have to be consistent. That's the main key, being consistent. Even goes back into correlation with raising your kids. Like, it get hard, it's a struggle. A lot of things go on, but it's an everyday thing, right? I'm sure it don't matter if they 20, they 30, they 40, it's still your child, and it's a work in progress. So that's how it is.
All right, thank you.
I would answer that, my dear brother. First of all, thank you all. Thank you, my brother Elijah, Mr. Brill. Thank you all. Miles on the 12th invited me off from Delaware.
Yeah.
Be here with you. Thank you. There is something in business called best practices. If we all own 12 Dunkin' Donuts around the country, and all of them are doing, struggling, but there's one in Denver, Colorado that's bringing in millions. It would be wise as a good president to send my managers from the other Dunkin' Donuts to Colorado to see what is he doing.
What's working.
We don't do that enough.
Yeah.
We've been trying to reinvent the wheel. If things are doing well and Philly Truce is rocking and up, what do you do? We don't do enough cross-pollinating from the Delaware Valley. That's right. Camden's in their own little silo, Delaware
Right.
screaming and hollering. But we're all the same. We need to share wisdom with each other. A couple actionable points. I would love to see this, and we're talking about this in Delaware, creating Black History Month weekends. Because I said to the young brothers at the school the other day, it ain't the school's job to teach you your history. They got to do the reading, writing, arithmetic, the core content, curriculum standards. It ain't their job to teach you who you are. So when are our youth going to learn?
Right.
The Jews on Saturday? Oh, no, you're going to learn this history. Yeah. So we can open up for a couple hours just,
Right.
and talk about the Sheikh Anta Diops and the Dr. Ben. We don't know. And then the Nation of Islam, we know the black man's God, yeah, but do my son really know what my brother talked about that was on your panel? Really know what our history? We really don't. So really having a Black History weekend just once a month in the church or our young people, just to teach them, because where are they going to get it?
Right.
We don't have enough time. We raising the dead. And in most mosques and churches, while we bring in the, and I'll put this in quotes, dead in the front door, our own youth is running out the back door.
Yeah. Yeah.
We bringing in the dead, but our youth, because we're not paying attention to them. So that was something I said. Adopt the youth.
Yeah.
All of us adopt a young shorty. That young sister, she ain't that crazy. We all should adopt a young person. Just a text, stay in touch with them. I got a little brother, he banging. He just had a son, but just a text that he got from me helped his whole day. They want to know, man, Brother John, thank you for that text. I needed that. So just adopting the youth, and job skills training is key.
Mm-hmm.
What I do, when I get with the brothers on the street, when I find a crew, I go all in my power to give one of them a job.
Mm-hmm.
When you get that first brother a job, and he go back, then when you out on the block and get, well, yo, Brother John, yo, got to get the job. Yeah, got you now. I don't know how I can get all your job, but you get that one because they want to work. And people come to them before and say, you want your job, but I go to them and I find one willing. Brother, come on, man. I got relationships over at the shop, right? Let's go. I got a plug at the Chick-fil-A.
You're right.
I got this white lady, she cool with us. She know if I bring a brother with me, let him go. And it's been working. That one brother, that job, now you got the whole block with you. And we can do that. Can we find one little brother job?
Right.
Can every church find one brother job? Can we come together as Mosque number 12 and just get one young brother that came here last Sunday? You're going to work. And we're going to get your job and say, man, you know what that'll do? That'll offer a little faith. So the scripture says our people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
But what we don't like to read is the verse that come after that. And because thou hast rejected knowledge,
You're right.
I will reject thee.
Yeah.
My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, but God is saying, because you reject knowledge, I will reject you. So let's be a people of knowledge.
Yeah.
Our young people, they want to learn.
They do.
They want to learn. They just need people that love them. Thank you.
Come on, let's give it up. Thank you so much. Let's give it up for both panels. Yeah. This event should have been broadcast on C-SPAN because there was so much knowledge and we all did our own thing our own way. And so as we get ready to leave this space, let's remember that tonight was not just about history, but it's about us. It's about our communities, our neighborhood. It's about the kind of future that we have to build together. We don't got to wait on the white man, the government. We don't got to wait for a check. We got enough capital in the black community alone to build this beloved community that King talked about, to build this new heaven and new earth that the prophets that came before us laid and gave us the blueprint. We have the blueprint for success. All we have to do is really tap into it. So let's give God some praise for this. Thank you so much, Minister Muhammad, and this great mosque for inviting me. I've had a good time today. Y'all done gave me something to preach tomorrow. But God is good. We already have the tools we need to do what we need to do. Reverend Jackson used to say, strong minds break strong chains. So as we leave out from this place, let us get to break some chains. Because once we break them chains and unlock them doors, that's when the enemy going to be on our track. Amen. Let us bow our heads for our closing prayer. Okay.
In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, bear witness, there's no God but Allah. And I want to thank the panelists, and I want to thank you all. A wonderful job. As we can see, we got a future here. We got to go to work and make this thing work for us, and we collaborate with one another, and we can make this thing work. But real quick, I just want to remind everyone of Sunday. Extension of this meeting here is Sunday, so you're welcome to come out to our Sunday meeting at 11 o'clock. Please come out and bring a guest and be with us on this. And that's the subject. Yes, and that's the subject. Yes, sir. So learn more about that so we can work together. Also, we got some vendings in the back. We want to support the vendors. If you could, you can support them. If you don't mind, Brother Minister, we're going to have our sister close us out in prayer. So we want to have our sister, because we don't want to be all brother. Yeah. So we want to have that female side to this. So we're going to have our sister close us out in prayer. Thank you.
Brother Minister Ryan, if it's okay, if anyone does buy a book, everywhere I go, I don't take from, I give to. So the book is $20, but $5 for every book will go to Miles number 12.
Praise be. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Did we learn anything this evening? Give it up for our panelists one more time. And how about our moderator? Reverend Cassius did an excellent job. An excellent job. This is just the first of many events that we are looking to host, and we would love for you to come out, bring someone with you. And just again, as Brother Rodney mentioned, our mosque meeting tomorrow, we will hear from Brother Student Minister Ismail Muhammad, the national representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, delivering to us words given to him from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on the subject, making our community a decent and safe place to live. Part 2. We heard part 1 this past Sunday. Come on out, bring a friend, join us tomorrow. The meeting starts at 11 a.m. The doors open at 10:30. We would love for you to be our special guest out tomorrow. All right. Now, as we leave from this place, we just want to lift up Almighty God Allah, thanking Him for the opportunity to bring us together, to fellowship together. Let us prepare for prayer. Prayer time. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, all praise belongs to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, the beneficent, the most merciful, master of the day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, thee alone do we beseech for aid. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favor, not the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor the path of those who go astray. Greet someone that you do not know. Greet someone, please. Thank you.
Beautiful prayer, my sister. God bless you. Yes. Let's take a picture of all the panelists and our host. Come on up front.
Yes, Lord. This